Leave your comments on the Ask Reddit sub, and I'll read your answers on the next episode of LWIAR. Current and former residents of an HOA, what's your "I'll never live in an HOA again" story? I'm being charged $400 because of a violation for a bush overhanging my walkway. I don't have a walkway or a bush. The picture isn't even my house. They won't back down. Take a picture of your house and tell them that you fixed the problem by removing the offending bush in the walkway and all the landscaping is done and fresh grass is growing already. All perfect, aside from the grass. I'm in Arizona. The gravel is growing nicely, though. I paid a fee for parking in the gravel a while back. I got home and my boyfriend had gotten home from work at 7:30 am. Washed his car in the middle of the driveway and then gone to bed. I pulled in, one tire mostly on the gravel, left it running, grabbed his keys, came out and did the two-car shuffle. In the 3 minutes, I checked my ring. I was inside. Someone snapped a picture and I got fined. Apparently, 3 minutes is too long because the bylaws say never. Be careful to not confuse the two. Persistent incompetence can masquerade as maliciousness. There are definitely HOAs in Canada, if perhaps not as widespread as in the States. A family friend bought a lot in a new HOA-controlled subdivision when I was a kid, and wanted to build a bungalow but got told they had to build their house 2-story because that was the aesthetic of the neighborhood. Couldn't even get approval to build a bungalow with an empty upstairs. They were told the bedrooms couldn't be on the ground floor, so they ended up building a raised bungalow, which is basically just a bungalow on the second floor, and the ground floor serves the same purposes as a basement in a normal house. Then they got into it with the association when the dad, who worked for the manor, came home for the weekend from fighting forest fires and parked his work truck in the driveway, covered in soot and dirt, because it had been driving through forest fires for a week, because it was unseemly to have a dirty vehicle on display. Where TF are you supposed to park it then? You're not supposed to have something too unsightly in the neighborhood. You're supposed to have white-gloved movers and pack silently in the middle of the night. Yes, just like the Baltimore Colts. Pack it back up. We're out of here. Frick that noise. I took great pleasure in the fact that when we did move, my mom sold the house to a loud and delightfully boisterous couple from Philly. We love these people. We were certain the neighbors would not. Delightfully boisterous, that's an amazing description. Everyone I know that's from Philly is delightfully and aggressively boisterous. They are all happy people even if they are complaining about their sports teams because that's just how they do it there. Oh no, Philly is on fire, the people must be angry. Nope, their team just won. My old house's backyard bordered an HOA community. Our house was built 30 years before the community was built, so we weren't part of it. We used to get notices about violations and fines if we didn't correct them. Never did correct them. They finally sent legal papers to repossess our house. Went to court with a tax map that showed our property not part of the HOA community. Judge dismissed their suit against us and found them guilty of harassment. We didn't get awarded much, but I made sure to break every rule of theirs I could until we moved. This makes me happy that someone could actually stick it to an HOA. How did we, human beings, ever allow such a plague to exist? Why would a lifeguard know who the head of the HOA is if it's not their own boss? Some people are so full of themselves. My father is number 2. He became president of every strata council for the buildings we lived in when I was younger, just so he could be sure things were running smoothly. In his last place, a number 1 type got so choked at his bullcrap rules being voted down that he basically lied to a bunch of the older folks to get a petition signed to have my dad removed from the board. My dad sold his place and moved out within a month. The new president, the guy who got him voted out, completely freaked up the roofing project and everybody who owned there saw their property values plummet. Lol, my dad is also number 2. After he retired he got so sick of the president of the HOA Readers Board and needed something to focus his energy on. That he ran against him. Easily won. Dude was pretty much universally despised. And the first thing he did was abolish the position and reorganize. Was absolutely hilarious and I honestly don't know how it's organized now. But everyone is much happier and it's way more efficient. My dad is also the kind of guy who likes to try and scam email phone scammers. and has a massive pirated physical music co-op with his friends that predates Napster that I wasn't allowed to talk about as a kid. I'm a fan of my dad. That is brilliant revenge. Takes notes. My HOA did the same thing when I replaced the oil pan in my car. They cited that only automotive work necessary to be done in place can be done by a professional. Little did they know, I have a degree in automotive technology. Told them and never paid it. Never heard a thing about it again. Moved to Florida where every neighborhood is in HOA. Upon moving in I felt like I had joined a sorority or fraternity and I had to endure the hazing from the HOA. The final straw was when they sent me a letter that my white mailbox was dirty. So I decided to walk down one street and took pics of mailboxes with no doors and mailboxes that were covered in mildew, and I emailed them all to the HOA. I told them to not send me any more notices until these mailboxes were up to code. I haven't received another notice in a year. I guess I passed my initiation. They'll bully you around until you hit them with a taste of reality and that you won't tolerate their bullcrap anymore. Look up who is on your HOA board, then check out their mailboxes. My HOA bullied me like this. I gave up and moved out. $800 monthly was not worth the BS. $800 monthly cost for an HOA? What the ever-loving frick? I pay $25 and I think it's outrageous. Well, we kinda do. I was just learning to drive and parked my car too far away from the curb. Parents and neighbors didn't get along, so neighbors measured the distance from the wheels to the curb and parents got fined. Now I live in the country with pretty much no rules. We have goats and emus in our front yard. I was putting on new siding. Very obviously too. Had ladders up and everything. But there was just plywood up one morning on part of my house, facing the street. I got a knock on the door at 7:30 a.m. A code enforcement officer, in uniform, looking vaguely like a cop, was visibly upset and acting like I'd taken a dump on the front sidewalk or something. Told me if I didn't have the siding up by the end of the day I'd start getting fined every day. Do HOAs really need constant perfection at every time of the day? Like, how serious of an inconvenience is it to see something different for a few days? The oddest bit about this is that new siding is an investment in the community, and if everyone is investing in these cosmetic repairs, it'll increase the overall value of the neighborhood. But was it an approved increase of the overall property value? Read that as a zealous hoe. This didn't happen to me, but several years ago a co-worker told me about how she and her husband put in a small in-ground pool in their backyard. They got all of the required permits and everything, and nobody said boo during the weeks of construction. After the pool was installed and they were getting ready to open it, the HOA sent them a letter informing them that it was in violation of the HOA rules and it had to be removed. I guess their community had a public pool at the clubhouse or something. They ended up going to court and spending thousands of dollars to fight it. In the end, they agreed to erect a high privacy fence around it so that it wouldn't be visible. How ridiculous. This next bit is a dick move, but since we're going full petty, broadcast in every part of the hobbyist spectrum that could possibly be used for a remote control. Anything. Remote control cars and drones also have to use the hobbyist spectrum that you don't need a license to use, because they'll be used by people without a license. Just straight up jam all those signals so none of the neighborhood kids can have remote control cars. Timmy wants a toy radio. Tough crap. It's not gonna do anything because my 65 feet radio tower is drowning out any signal his handheld radio could ever put out. Morris is wondering why her garage door opener no longer works. Well, it's because you're jamming that too. It's a huge dick move and probably violates all sorts of recommended guidelines, but it's not illegal. Because people in charge of HOAs are miserable little craps. It's been interesting navigating my relationship with him. I wanted to try to maintain some sort of cordial relationship with him, so put up with a lot at first. Now I don't show up to the annual meeting and insist that all communication be written. You're right that no one should put up with that. Pretty sure someone is going to get in trouble over that. There are ironclad laws about what you cannot do when a soldier is deployed. There were 366 units spread out on over 200 plus acres of land. One of the residents got fined $1,250 for putting outdoor Christmas lights on trees in front of their unit. Outdoor decorations being prohibited beyond residents' front door entryway. I honestly don't understand how some organizations can justify these kinds of rules. Imagine owning a house and being treated like you live in a college dorm or a super controlling apartment complex. Why on earth would anyone do this? The idea is that you all agree to give up a little freedom to protect the property value. The reality is that most of the things they look at probably don't really affect property value. Till Alice in Wonderland is just dealing with HOA while on acid. HOA lost my quarterly check. Sent a notice that I didn't pay an October quarter. Showed them the receipt from when I dropped it off. Then started naming each quarter before until I didn't have receipt proof they received it, and then it was that is the one you didn't pay. Tried to charge an extra $5 for something. Sold the house and moved far away. My wife's aunt and uncle live in an HOA neighborhood. Their current problem is that the ground is higher than their first level and it's sloped towards a group of condos. Every time it rains bad, their condos flood. They don't have basements. HOA won't do anything, and it seems a few of their residents are lawyering up. This has happened since they put in a storm drain, and for some reason it backs up into their common area, which is behind the group of condos. We rented a condo from the people who owned it, and it was associated with a HOA. We like to grow things, but there was no balcony, so we just had two large pots, one on either side of our door. We got a notice one day that we had to get rid of our only plants because they didn't fit their aesthetic of the building, or something. Basically, they were too ugly. They also didn't have a room to discuss whatever it is they discuss at meetings. So they would do it in the gym for some reason. They'd move all of the equipment to the side and set up their tables and chairs and then never moved anything back. One time I accidentally barged in on them in my workout gear, and I actually had the nerve to ask them if there was a boardroom I could work out in. I said it on my way out, so I don't know what their response was. But yeah, we didn't renew our lease there. My HOA president walks around the neighborhood every day and takes pictures of any violations he finds. There is a management company that does monthly checks for violations. But that's not enough for this old, bored, retired man. About a month after having a baby, I got a knock on the door from the HOA president, which I answer in my post-surgical breastfeeding outfit, because the palm frond hadn't been trimmed after being down for 3 days. Then I got a written notice the next day. Then I got another notice 2 days later. The HOA maintains the roads and there's a 15 miles per hour speed limit. People drive pretty slow. These idiots put in 3 speed bumps on a 200-foot stretch of road. I've never seen anyone blast through it. I regularly go on walks. They also put up a security camera, raising our monthly dues, because one neighbor left their garage door open all day and someone took a few things. We clearly live in a dangerous area full of criminals, so I can't sell yet. But when I do, never living in an HOA again. I've never lived in one. But I remember a story where a guy wanted to build something like an 8-foot privacy fence. The HOA said the fence couldn't be higher than 5 feet. The wording only said fence. So he built a 5-foot concrete partition, and stuck a 5-foot fence on top of it. Thanks for watching LWIAR, the best of recent r/AskReddit submissions and comments. If you like this video, check out LWIAR too, and don't forget to like and subscribe.